Hey guys, Matt with FamilyManTrading.com coming to you with another video regarding the high probability trading system strategy script that I put together, and it has 4 different variations that we're going to walk through. This video is going to be a little bit longer than the normal videos I put together, so at any time if you need to just have it slow down or if you need to take some screenshots, just pause the video and take the notes. I'm going to have some put up here for you so that you can see what we're talking about. And then as always, if you need anything, just get in touch with me. You can visit my website here or shoot me an email. Those go directly to me and I'll answer them as soon as I can. After that, first and foremost, I just want to tell you that this is all just educational stuff and entertainment purposes. I'm not an advisor. I don't give any investment advice, so don't listen to what I say as far as taking trades. It's strictly just information to kind of help you make decisions however you want to do that. But you're required to do your own back testing, seek your own advice from professionals other than me, because I'm not one. I'm just a guy that does some coding. So okay, let's get on with it. So here we have our chart, and when you guys first get the script from me, it's going to be just plain text. I have another video that I don't want to go into too much with that, how we get our indicator on the chart, but get the plain text script and we're going to add it so that we can test our strategy. When you first load it, it's going to be blank like this unless you've already loaded other strategies, and you're not going to have anything on your price chart. I've already added the MACD Platinum indicator. We're just going to add the strategy script. So here's what it will look like when you save it into your system. Open up your indicators and it's going to be listed at however you saved it, and I just happen to name it the QMP Filter Basic Package. This is the simple strategy, again with the 4 different variations. And I apologize for talking fast, but I don't want it to be too long. When you click it, it's going to automatically add the script to your chart. It'll put it up here and you'll see a bunch of different pieces of data here, and that's all the different indicators and the lines with the MAs and if there's buy or sell dots. It gets pretty busy on here, but we're going to walk you through it so that you know exactly what you're looking at, because it's more than just the red and green QMP filter dots that we're used to. First and foremost, what I'd like you guys to think about doing is come down here to this gear setting here, and if it's not up like that and maybe this tab wasn't open and it was down here like this, just click the strategy tester tab and you can drag it up and down, or you can resize it with the window items here to find that gearbox. But what we want to do is click this gearbox to change the settings. I programmed it just to come standard with $100,000 of initial capital during the testing. So you want to put this, whatever you trade with, whatever your account balance is, or whatever you want to demo with, so that it's specifically related to you. So I'm just going to throw in $2,500 just for simple numbers, and that's going to change how things look. You'll notice as we make changes to the strategy inputs and the properties, the chart will change, and so will your data that it comes back with down here, because it's taking new information from you. And you can fill out your base currency and your initial capital however you want. Because the strategy is already programmed for order size and pyramiding, I recommend just leaving those alone. Otherwise you might change the way the strategy performs, and I can't promise how that might work for you. Okay, we're done with that. Let's just discuss real quick what we're looking at. Our 240 line here that's going down and a downward trend is solid red. I programmed that so that I could easily tell when I look at the chart whether we're in an upward or downward trend. And if it's going down, it's going to be solid red. If it starts to move up, it'll be green. Just a visual representation that I liked to see. I'm going to move this down a little bit so that all we see is the numbers. And I just want to show you what the items are on the chart so that when you start manipulating the inputs, you see what it's doing to the price. So we're just going to zoom in a little bit here. Again, we have our MAs, the 240, the 100, and the 50. They're all stacked nicely. And you're going to see the QMP filter dots. So we have green for buy and the red dots for sell. MACD Platinum hasn't changed with the strategy script whatsoever, and you don't actually have to have this on your screen if you don't want to. I just know people are familiar with it, so I leave it on there, but it's actually programmed behind the scenes on this indicator itself, so if you deleted this, all of this would still work. Okay, so besides our QMP filter dots, we also have sell or buy indicators. Once we have an actual signal like this one that qualified according to the strategy, we have the QMP sell dot, and then we have a red cross and a green cross. These 2 crosses represent the stop loss price and the take profit price. And to show you a visual of what that looks like, I'm going to just take a short position and draw it on the chart here so that you can kind of see what happens. Price opens and closes. After the close, we get the dot, so we know we have a signal. When price opens, we enter the trade. The stop loss will be right along the same price as that red cross, and the take profit will be at the same price of that green cross, right about there. And I missed it by just a little bit, but you'll notice the ratio is 1 to 1. It comes standard when you load the chart with the strategy that everything will be set as 1 to 1, because it's pretty typical for people to trade. The thing to note is that you can change that, and I'm going to show you how to do it, but I just wanted you to see that the crosses represent where the price would be if it went your direction or against you. These show you what the prices are. The other thing is when you highlight, I'm going to get rid of this so it's a little cleaner. When you highlight the candle that has the crosses, it will show you the prices, and that's handy because if you want to switch to your broker platform and type in stop loss and take profit really quick without having to do a bunch of math or figure it out yourself, you can do so just by moving your cursor. And you'll notice the numbers up here change. They're blue when there's no signal, and then they change color when we're over the candle that has a signal. So you'll watch these turn red and green as I come over the signal candle. So now you see the 1.1489 is my stop loss price, which would be here, and then my 1.1335 is my take profit price, which would be here. So that's what you're looking at visually. TradingView uses the strategy to show you when a sell trade is made or a buy trade. The sell is red and the buy is blue. You'll see some of those as we go through this video. And then they show you this purple text when either trade is exited, whether it's a sell or a buy. So visually you can tell that we had the signal. My script put a stop loss and a take profit line. We opened, we took the trade and a sell here with this red triangle. Price moved in our favor and it came down in line with our take profit price. So we get the purple triangle here and we've exited the sell. Now we're in no trade here. This one didn't activate because this MACD line crossed below the zero just prior to the candle close, so it wouldn't be a valid entry. This isn't a valid entry, as we all know, because we're in a downtrend, so the base strategy is to trade with trend. And here comes another one. We've got the trend line, we've got the dot above the zero line on the MACD. You guys should all know that strategy so far, but we open, and then because this candle movement is so low, meaning the price isn't as long as one like this, the take profit and the stop loss distance is very small, but it's still profitable. So if you trade on a percentage of your account, this is still going to be a highly profitable trade. We enter the trade, price hits our take profit immediately, and we're out of the trade. So that's basically what you're looking at visually when you're looking at the strategy script on your price chart, because it does throw these extra indications and words and colors on your price, on the price action, but that's what it looks like. Okay, so strategy scripts strictly are used for testing. These are not opening any real life trades. They're not connected to any broker. They can't do any auto traders. They're not emulators or anything like that. They just simply take a trade according to how you program it and then output results, so that you can kind of have a baseline of whether or not you should even waste your time on that currency with that trade. We'll get into the data as we go through each different type of setup, because there are 4 of them. But that's strictly what the strategy script does. It does not place live trades, and it won't connect to that. If you want to do that, you can find some programmers, I think, with some different coding languages, far beyond my capabilities, to connect to your broker, and there's some that do allow that. But anyway, this is not an auto trader, and it will not place trades automatically for you. We get a lot of questions on that, so I just wanted to help people be clear with that. Okay, so let's go through the most basic strategy setup. When I say there's 4, when you come into the settings, whether it's using the gearbox here or down here on this strategy and using this gearbox, they open the exact same thing. They open a settings pane where I showed you how to change your initial capital and your base currency if you want to. But when you come into inputs, you're going to find everything that I programmed in the script. And you can change all of these so that you can do your own back testing and kind of get data that you want. I typically just start with this as my base so that I understand how to start manipulating it to go from there. So when I say that there's 4 variations, I'm talking about the strategies right here. You'll notice as you come through, we have the base plus high risk, the MA or the moving average lines, plus the QMP filter dots, or all QMP filter dots. And we're going to walk through each of these so that you can see what they are, because as we change these inputs, the chart's going to change and we're going to get some different results based on the currency down here where we want to see how to squeeze the most profit out of the market. Okay, with that said, let's walk through the euro dollar on the daily chart. Base strategy is Jim Brown's high probability system with no alterations. It strictly goes with the trend. We take sells as price is moving down, we take buys as price is moving up, and we make sure that we're paying attention to the MACD above or below the zero based on the setup. That's as simple as it is. As we go through the rest of these filters here, buys only, sells only, or both is important because some people like trading Forex, some people like trading stocks, and some people like only trading certain directions. Or you might trade both directions like I do. But I noticed people were asking me to trade this with stocks, and because in Forex you can trade lot sizes and units, like I do here where we're trading 6,485 units per trade, most people I know don't trade that many shares at a time. So if we were to change this to stocks, our numbers would be highly inflated because we're not trading 6,485 shares. So I just made it a click so that if you want to put this strategy script on stocks, you can. You just change it to right there. Or you can keep it on Forex. Let the money compound is defaulted to false. This just means that every single trade that you make, according to my programming, is based on risk. So I do a 2% risk on Forex. If you selected stock, it would be this one that you would fill out based on your initial capital. So if you said no or said false to your money compounding, 2% of $2,500 is automatically programmed in the value of the pips for this currency every single trade for as long as you're doing the strategy. It doesn't build up and compound like most people like to do. It's just set to false so that you have a really good baseline of knowing are you being profitable or not, just with the same value on every single trade. I don't trade that way though, so I'm going to actually change that to true because I do let my money compound. As my account grows, I want the 2% of my account to do more for me. That's the whole point, is to make money for you. Okay. Before we get into the rest of these, because they're going to start to get a little confusing, and again, rewatch videos, pause it. I'm going to put some notes up here, whatever it might be to help you, but we're going to go back through just so you understand these different strategies. Base, high probability system, no alterations whatsoever. We're trading with the trend, and we're making sure that we're paying attention to the MACD Platinum dot position, whether it's above or below the 0. We have the proper crosses and the proper signals. So I'll put a note up here for you to see, just so you can tell the difference between the strategies. Again, the base is the high probability strategy, no alterations, a fixed stop loss, and a fixed take profit. That's probably the biggest difference that you'll see between my chart and Jim's charts, in that I do trade with a fixed stop loss and a fixed take profit because I want to just kind of set it and forget it. And I know that over the last 4 years, that as I've traded this, especially according to the strategy, the profit was much higher than my drawdown and much higher than my loss. So I'm okay just making every trade according to the indication based on my settings. That's why the script works so well for you, because when you change these settings, you're tuning it to what you like to do, how you like to trade, whether it's daily charts, 12-hour charts, 1-hour charts. You update all of these settings so that they match how you would make the trade, and then you see if you're profitable or not. That way when you go to live trading, you have a little more confidence and understanding that the currency will work out for you in your favor. So I'll bring that back up just so you have it. Fixed stop loss are red crosses. Fixed take profit are green crosses. This is just the example that I just showed you. And we'll go through what those mean. Okay, let's go into the other one as well. I'm going to move that one off of our screen here real quick and give you the next one. The next one's only slightly different. I'll put it up in the middle so that you can see it. And then I'll take it away because it's kind of hard to leave it on there and manipulate my chart. So pause the video here if you need to take notes, and then we'll go forward. But basically, the base strategy plus high risk, I call it, is the high probability strategy. But what we've added is the 240 moving average has to be on the correct side of the trade. So if we're taking a sell setup, like the one that we just had an example here, the 240 line has to be above the other two moving average lines, just like Jim teaches in his setup. We're okay with that. The 50 and the 100 moving average can be on top of one another in any order as long as the 240 is above them both for a sell position. If you're doing a buy position, then it has to be below them. So you can tell obviously the 240 is above these two, meaning we're in a downtrend. If you were to change the system to say base plus high risk, that just means that you're allowing the strategy system to trade if the 50 line happens to come up and cross over the 100 line. And then it would still make this sell trade. Otherwise, a lot of times you want these to fan out like this and you want them to be separate, stacked in this order. The reason I did this is because as I started coding the strategy script, I found multiple trades looking through the charts where it would have been profitable, and I was curious how many times would it work out if we allowed the 50s and 100s to be on top of each other in either way, as long as we were trading with the main direction of the 240. And there's some currencies that it works out really well. So I'm going to show you that one when we look at the Aussie dollar here, and we'll take a look at the example. All of these are going to have fixed loss, stop loss, and fixed take profit. So let's look at the Aussie dollar on a daily chart, and I'll show you the rest of these notes, the width trend, and I'll talk about these here in just a second. So I'm just going to switch the chart to the Aussie dollar. Again, we were wanting to look at the daily chart. Since my strategy script automatically comes default set to the base strategy, we're going to switch it a little bit. And what I want you to notice is from the default, we have down here a 23.94% net profit with 27 trades, 70% win rate, which is really good, and a 3.96% drawdown. This occurred from the first month, January, first day, so January 1st of 2016 through December 31st of this year. Obviously it's not December 31st yet, but I placed it that way so that we can capture all the trades. And then our risk percentage, you can change this as you go, but that just changes how much risk you're willing to put forward per trade. So what we're going to do is we're going to edit this a little bit so that we do the base plus the high risk that we just talked about, and I'll show you the examples. Base plus high risk, we're going to take both buys and sells, still trading Forex, letting the money compound for ourselves, and we are going to follow the trend. Following the trend just means that we'll take the trade as long as it's a sell and this is moving down. There's some setups that you're going to see in a minute that as the trend flattens out or starts to go up, we'll still take, and it can still be profitable. Alright, now we're going to get into what's called the look back period and the take profit period, or the take profit reward. The look back period in here, this editable input for you, as you change it, you can type it in or you can hit your arrow key when you click in this text, is how many candles you want to look back to find your highest high or your lowest low in order to make your stop loss. So for this one, we're going to leave it at this so that we can maintain this profit and max drawdown. Looking back just one candle, if we're going to sell, we want one candle for our highest high, and that's what I used to do the stop loss. So for this example right here, this is our signal candle, and if we look back one candle for the highest high, that includes this candle. So it's not going to look back over here and look at any of these. If we did, this would be the second candle, so this would be looking back two candles for the highest high. And just to give you an idea, it might be redundant, but I want to show you. We'll watch as the stop loss figure moves from here to here, because the highest high will no longer be here in the last two candles. It will be here. So the cross moves to the last highest high in those two candles, which would be this one. And what that does is it changes the amount of distance that you have a stop loss. So your open position is here, and instead of stopping out at this spot, it would go to stop out that spot. And that might seem like a minor difference, but the reason this is so important is because that minor difference that we just changed increased our drawdown, decreased our win rate, and really decreased our net profit. So watch these numbers as I change it again, and now you'll see the power of the strategy script in a single click instead of backtesting for hours and hours with very small changes. Our stop loss moves back to this candle. We've decreased our drawdown, increased our win rate, and increased our net profit. That's what these are for, to squeeze out every little bit of profit that you can. And so some of the examples that I'm showing you, such as this Aussie dollar, again, I'm not giving you any advice or any investment decision-making things here, but I'm just showing you that I've gone through the currencies and I've used all of these filters, and I've gone click by click and I've looked at the data and seen how it changes and made sure that I squeezed out the most profit in each of them. So I have a running list. I can show you an example of that really fast. This is an example of the pound yen. I give this to some of my clients who want some information as far as backtesting. And I've gone through and this is the examples that I'm talking about. I went with different time frames and different setups, whether it's the base, the high risk, the QMP dots, all dots, you name it. Different look back periods, different reward ratios, and I've recorded what the profit, the total trades, the win rate, and the drawdown was to find the most successful setups. So this is kind of some freebies for you here. This took a lot of work, but you guys can take a look if you want and pause your screen. But for instance, this was a couple of months ago, but if we used the base plus the high risk system without the trend confirmation, so we allowed it to not trade only in trend, we set our look back period to 1 and our reward ratio to 1.7, meaning a 1.7 to 1 take profit. At the time, a couple of months ago, the net profit was 14.69% with a drawdown of 3.68%, well within my standards that I'll trade. 34 trades and a 52.94% win rate. So this is just an example of what I've done with those filters so that you could see the power of going through currencies and going click by click. Okay, enough about that. So in the Aussie dollar, this performs really well. On the daily chart, we're looking at the base plus the high risk, meaning it'll trade even if these two hundreds and 50s are stacked up the other way, as long as we're going with the main line, letting our money compound, and must follow trend. Looking back over the last candle, which is the signal candle only, and a reward ratio of 1 to 1 on the profit to stop loss. Performs pretty well at almost 24% profit with a 4% max drawdown. Okay, let's move on to the next strategy, setup at least, and I'll show you an example of that one. This one's the MA plus QMP dots. So the MA plus QMP dots is our moving average plus the QMP filter dots. So the MAs have to be stacked appropriately, just like the base strategy. So the screen we're looking at is a perfect example where if we're looking in a downward trend, we have that 240, then the 100, then the 50. They're all angling down, and we have them all fanned out. That's pretty nice to look for sell trades. The difference here is I found doing the strategy testing that some currencies do pretty well if we use this feature, which eliminates the MACD platinum. It's completely disregarded. So for example, if this were a sell indication right here, over this dot, although it's below the 0 line, we would typically not look for sell trades here. However, if the QMP filter showed a sell dot here, with this particular setup selected, it would take this sell because it completely disregards the MACD platinum. And that's outside of Jim's strategy and how he teaches it, but again, I've found some currencies that actually do pretty well using this system. And the euro dollar is a great example, the 12-hour. So take a screenshot of that or pause it if you want to write those notes down, but I'm going to go ahead and set those settings up now and show you an example of that. And also how quick it is to change. So I'm going to leave the current settings with the strategy and then show you just by clicking those indicators and the inputs how fast it changes for you. Okay, so we're going to look at the euro dollar 12-hour chart. And what we're going to do is notice that the current setup where we have the base plus high risk is not very good for the euro dollar 12-hour. We've got pretty good drawdown here at 9.6% with a 7% profit. We're not making any money, we're losing money. So we need to figure out how to change that. So let's go back into our settings. And here's another helpful hint for you. With the MA plus QMP dots, we're going to trade when the MA lines are stacked up appropriately and the QMP dots appear. The other setting that we want to do is no trend confirmation. It does not have to follow the trend in order to be successful with this currency. The look back is different because currencies act different. Every pair is different. They have their own relationship to each other. So where the Aussie dollar did well with a 1-to-1 here, where we only look back over the most recent candle, you'll see that the euro dollar does really well by looking back further because it has a lot more movement. It moves up and down like this pretty frequently. So we don't want to look just at this last candle. We want to look over a period of candles to find that appropriate stop loss. And then we're going to do a 1.6 take profit. Now I know that seems really interesting that it's a random number, 1.6. Like why not 1.3? Why not 1.1? But look at the way it changes. Again, those very small changes where it would take you hours and hours and hours to backtest the difference between a 1.1 or a 1.5 take profit. You'd have to go manually and really do the math yourself over and over and over, whereas in here you can just change the input. So if we did a 1-to-1, we'd be losing money. Our drawdown would be massive. We'd have no profit literally whatsoever. But by simply watching this take profit move down a little bit because we're going to expand the difference between our buy and stop loss by 1.6 times. You're going to watch how the pair automatically becomes successful. This is still a fairly decent drawdown at 9.61, but it's still within my standards, and we're at 54% profit with a decent win rate. A good number of trades over the time because we're going from 2016 to 2020. Now remember, this is the 12-hour chart, so there's only certain setups that are going to happen in here, but if you do this over a number of currencies, even though you only have 45 trades, you might have another 45 trades with another currency and decent profit. It's all about what works for you, and if you're okay trading a certain amount throughout the year to still make money. I'm okay with this because it makes money. That's what I'm after. Okay, so we've gone through that. The MA QMP. Again, the MAs have to be stacked up, so the moving averages have to be stacked the appropriate way, but we don't care about the MACD Platinum. We don't care whatsoever what it looks like. We're totally disregarding it. Let's see if I can find an example here for you. Looks like we'll probably get something in here. Maybe not. They're all doing pretty well. Again, I don't go through the charts really to set these videos up, so. But essentially, all you really have to know is that it's programmed so that the lines just have to be stacked the appropriate way, and then when it takes the sell, actually I just found one right as I started talking about that. So here's an example. The MAs are stacked. We're in a downtrend. The 240 is on top, the 100 and the 50. So they're stacked the appropriate way as far as the downtrend goes. We have a QMP filter dot pop up, meaning according to the base strategy, none of that changes. The MACD filter has a cross and the QQE has a cross. So we get the QMP filter according to the base strategy. But what's different is we don't care what happens with the MACD Platinum down here. And you can tell here if we look at the data, it shows that the MACD is under the 0 when we get the indication. By the basic standards, we would not take this trade. However, according to the backtesting, we can see because we have a 1.6 profit to a 1.0 stop loss, sometimes it is profitable, and you can see where it was here. We placed the trade. I'll make it really easy so that people can see here. We placed the trade here. Stop loss was at the cross, and the take profit was at the cross. Price moved, almost stopped out a little bit, moved down in our favor, and took us out here with profit. Now, of course, you're going to get stopped out from time to time, particularly with a bigger take profit. The bigger this is, the more often you're going to get stopped out. But that's the whole point of having all these inputs so that you can see how to set them perfectly so that you don't get stopped out as much, so that those big wins recoup all those little losses. All right, let's go on to the next and final one. That's a good example, that MA plus QMP dots. The next one is just all dots. All dots means we're going to trade every single QMP filter dot regardless of what's going on with anything else. We don't care about trend unless you say that you want to confirm the trend, and we don't care about the MACD Platinum. We're just going to take a buy here, a sell here, a buy here, a sell here, all along the way. So let's take a look at an example. Go ahead and take a screenshot of that and pause it if you want to write those notes down, but I'll show you a couple examples of that one. First one we're going to look at is the New Zealand dollar on a 4-hour chart. And you'll notice with the previous settings that we had, we have 3.42% profit with a massive drawdown. That's because the New Zealand dollar does not respond well to the MA plus QMP. So we're obviously going to change that. We're going to go through the all dots this time. It's going to be with the trend. So it has to be a green line for a buy, a red line for a sell. That's what with the trend means. It has to follow that 240 direction. Sorry, true for compounding, and then yes for the trend. And then our look back period, we're going to look back over the last 3 candles for our stop loss setting. And we're going to do a 1.1 to 1 ratio. So that's 1.1 take profit to a 1.0 stop loss. When we set it, you'll see that everything changes, and now we're looking at, instead of massively low profit and massively high drawdown, we have a pretty high drawdown, but we have a very good profit. Lots of trades, 53% win ratio. So this is, I trade this. This is really good for me. You just have to stick to it. So I've got a couple examples on here. It looks like I must have done some back testing on this one as well. But the trend, we said we do want to follow trend. So they have to be, the buys have to be on a green trend line here. So we took one here, took profit, just moved right along. I mean, there's one loss here, took a buy here, took profit, took a buy here, took profit, buy here, took a loss. But you can notice, as this is why I changed the script too, as the MAs start to roll over and come down and go the opposite way, I wanted to start avoiding indications like this, where we have a MACD platinum and a buy signal where we think that now it's going to continue up after maybe this pullback, but then it starts to not do that. So I wanted to limit these as much as possible. So I took out that trend confirmation. It starts to take away these MAs as it rolls over. So now there's not going to be any buys after this, because now the trend confirmation would be for sells. Now we're looking for sells, and it picks up really well. Took a trade, profit, took a trade, profit, took a trade, profit, took a trade, profit. I mean, we can go on and on and on as this setup works. So that's a good example of those all dots, as long as it's following trend. So you just take any dot along with the trend. If you were to switch it and you said, yeah, I don't really want it to follow the trend, we can just see how it affects things. 14% with massive drawdown, and now you'll see that it's actually allowing those buys to happen against the trend. So you can set these things up however you want. You can mess with all these. You don't have to follow how I've set up each feature. I've done the hours and hours and hours per currency, finding out which is best. So for me, I'm gonna stay with the trend on the New Zealand dollar. Go with all the dots. Let my money compound. Looking back over 3 candles on a 1.1 to 1, and you're gonna see all of these are just profit. I've got one more for you just to give you examples. And hopefully if anything else crosses my mind that might help you out, I'm happy to give them to you. But I did draw this one up to show you guys, just a quick one. This one's just like the New Zealand dollar, but instead of the same look back and take profit examples, I wanted to show you that the other one was with trend. For the pound yen on the 4 hour, you do not have to follow trend to get good results. So I'm going to say no to this. The look back period, instead of 3, is going to be 2. And the reward ratio to your stop loss, instead of 1.1, is going to be 3. And I just want to show you this one because I do trade the pound yen with this, and this number is pretty high. You get some pretty high drawdown, but because I've spent the hours and hours going through this, I trust the system and I just trade it. I just trade it how it is because I get some serious profits out of this. So what you want to see here is look how tight the stop loss is. You're only getting a 30% win rate, but this is what I talked about earlier, where the bigger the take profit you have, you get stopped out all the time, but you get enough profit over time that you actually really secure yourself some money that wipes out those losses. And another thing that I'll do that's just a trick with this is all of the strategy information is strictly just one order. It doesn't have anything to do with trailing your stops after you take some profit, or allowing, taking maybe 80% off and allowing the trade to run on as it continues, and maybe picking up some more money. This is just a single order and taking profits 100% at the profit, or losing it at the stop loss. So it's a good example here where we've got the indication. This one is we're not following the trend, because the dollar yen, as everybody knows, or now I'm letting you know, the pound yen moves crazy sometimes, big moves. So this one, it was against the trend big time. I mean, everything is telling us to go up here, but we've got a sell signal, and my system says that I can sell that and I can be profitable, so we take the trade. We look back over the last, I believe it was the last 2 candles, so between here and here we take the high for a sell for the stop loss, which is here, so it's going off the high of this candle. Take that distance and we make it a 3.0, a 3 to 1 take profit. So we've got this massive chunk here. and then you can see obviously price moves in our favor, but I wanted to really point out these to you guys so you could pick them up on the chart, because I'm pretty used to seeing them. But then price really moves, and then it comes down, and we take profit, and we take it right here. But you could trail this if you had two positions open. Depends on how you want to do it. And then here's another one where we took a buy, even though the trend started to flatten out. The MA started to collapse on us. This could easily have just turned over and just rolled, especially after this big dump right here, and this move down kind of broke through the structures through here and kind of started making this new low. So if I didn't have this indicator, especially with these kind of indecision candles, I'd be really hesitant to take a buy here, especially with a 3-to-1 take profit off of such a tiny stop loss. I mean, there's literally nothing here for a stop loss. But because of the confidence in this and where I know I'm going to take some losses, quite a few, these big wins are going to pay off, and it did here. So you've got to buy, and we just moved right along and we took our profit. So again, just some examples for you guys. I'll leave you with this. These strategy scripts, they can be edited. These 4, I sell this for $10 from Jim. He gave me the opportunity to do this for you guys and for me. I sell it for $10 for anybody who's in the JagFX group, who's the Facebook member, and also who has bought one of his last 2 books for the high probability system or the divergence system. I sell my strategy scripts for a minimum price of $25. Just kind of a shameless plug out there for me, but I will edit these for you guys if you want. Some things that people ask me to do is make much bigger stop losses. So some people like to trade, let's just use this buy over here for an example. Some people like to trade where they want the stop loss way down below these structures right in here. So they want it over here, and they want like a 2-to-1 take profit. And so I'll go in and I'll change this programming so that we don't look at candles, but we set a specific stop, or we look at 50 candles back, or the most recent low over 60 candles, or something like that. Or even using MAs for stop losses, like these dynamic stops, like we could say where the MA came up and hit price, and that could be a stop loss there. Either way, I edit those types of things. Make it so that you can trail stops or even trail profits. That's kind of a tiered system, which works out pretty well. So if it hits a certain price, you can keep taking it until it comes back down. A number of things that you can do, but I'm happy to work on something for you if you want. Just email me, go to my website, let me know what works for you. The big thing here is to make it affordable for you guys. I find enjoyment doing this, and I like to see big numbers where, if it costs you $50 or $75 to get a strategy that is incredibly editable like this, to let you sit down and say, okay, do I want to trade hourly charts? Do I want to trade, daily charts, and would it work or would it not? I mean, just flipping here to the hourly chart on the pound yen, this is not going to work. And instead of back testing and taking trade after trade, 400 trades to see if over the last 3 years this is going to be financially sound, I know that I don't have to do it, at least with these settings, because I can tell right now it's not going to work. So if I can do that to help you guys out, let me know. And I hope you like this video. If you have any other maybe suggestions for me, or comments, questions about the strategy script or how you can get it, please reach out and I'll see what I can do to help you. Wish you all the best of luck, and we will talk to you soon.